I hit the ground, sunk about waist deep in a rice paddy, descended upon by, seemed like 1,000 of the Vietnamese. They stripped me of everything I had. They took my flight gear, my clothing, my personal possessions. They even took my name. And they gave me a name from their language just to humiliate me for the next nearly 6 years. Dragged me around village to village, camp to camp, finally into the capital city of Hanoi, where I was tortured for 2 days with ropes and iron, ropes and whips and irons and water. After 2 days of the torture, they tossed me into this little cell. The one I described to you from the very beginning wasn't kidding you an inch. Let me tell you about my mental state at that moment in my life. Now, let me tell you about my physical state first. Every cell in my body hurt. I could not move without hurting. I'd been ravaged. I was bleeding from 4 open wounds, bayonet stabs in the back, and from the torture, I had these open wounds, no medical care. I hadn't eaten or had anything to drink, it seemed like, for days. I was already losing lots of weight. Just one big hurt, and that was the good news. The bad news was my mental state. I had given up. You see, you guys and gals have been in the military, you know, the code of conduct says you're supposed to give only name, rank, serial number, date of birth if you're captured, those 4 things. I flew over the enemy thinking that I was tough enough to stick with name, rank, serial number, date of birth, and I wasn't. And I broke, and I felt miserable about it. I felt very guilty. I thought, how can I ever go back to my country and face my family and my buddies, knowing that I was so weak? And so it was with that mindset and that emotion that I heard in the far corner the chirping noise of a cricket. I'm not a farm kid, knew what a cricket sounded like. But the longer I listened, the more rhythmic this chirp became, and I thought, that's a pretty educated little critter. Maybe I can teach him to sing. I walked over to the corner of my prison cell. I found there no cricket, but a little piece of wire, about that long. About the gauge of the old baling wire we used to use, as a matter of fact. It was poked through a hole at the base of the cell wire of that cell, and scratching on my concrete floor, making this chirping noise like a cricket. Are you with me? And can you imagine what might be going through your mind in a situation like this? I'm thinking to myself, the enemy is not sophisticated enough to try to trick me, and that means that there's an American on the other end of that wire that wants to communicate with me. And boy, would I like to talk to another American. And it's got to be a fighter pilot, since that's who's being shot down and put in these prison camps. Boy, I'd love to talk to a fighter pilot. But I'll bet that guy's tougher than I am. I'll bet he didn't cry when they tortured him like I did. Now I'm losing interest. Ever have those feelings? You know, that farmer that wasn't too happy with our suggestions last spring? Or the spouse that you just never mentioned that unspeakable topic, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, if I can only roll back here in the corner of this prison cell and wait, surely in 2 or 3 years, the Marines will break down the gates and I'll be set free and I'll never have to take another risk the rest of my life. Oh, there's an interesting word, risk, R-I-S-K. We talk a lot about risk in ag business, don't we? We try to avoid risk, and yet what I'm suggesting to you, that if you're going to be the best you can be, sometimes you have to take that risk. You have to kick down what's left of your comfort zone, get further outside yourself, go tug on a wire. This is not easily done.